Do you like wrestling? Do you ever watch wrestling?
No. Nope.
And The Rock said, whoa, 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 because I'm still standing here, custom made, brother. Woo! And I mean custom made, from the alligators to the Ole Cassini right here, Ric Flair. There's only one.
We're not the kind of guys that say, we told you so, but we told you so.
Yeah, no thank you from the Young Bucks.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
You know who I am.
What's up, gang? Welcome to Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. My name is Mike Wellman. I am your host. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here, as always. This is episode 59 of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. On this episode, we are going to be talking about AEW Double or Nothing. There was anarchy in the air, and there was anarchy in my mouth. There was anarchy in the arena. There were pillars in the arena. And pretty soon, CM Punk will be in the arena, as we will also talk about the official news from Tony Khan from this week's Dynamite that CM Punk is returning and will be featured on the new AEW Saturday TV show Collision. And we're also going to talk about Night of Champions. A new champion was crowned in Seth Rollins. And the beginning of the end of the Bloodline may be upon us. But we will see. We will get to all that. And, yes, joining me, as always, he is the second row superstar wrestling fan, Kris, a.k.a. Notorious KRS. What's up, Kris?
What's going on? Good to be here. Thanks for that introduction.
Yeah, did you watch Night of Champions?
I did.
Last week?
Yes, I had to watch it on the replay, after work though, so I couldn't watch it live. But
you didn't stop what you were doing on a Saturday afternoon for WWE.
I tried.
Premium live events. Well, that's what we're going to talk about on this episode. So, like I said, thank you for hitting that play button. It is good to be here. Episode 59. Got a lot to talk about. But before we go any farther, that's right. We need you to be kind, subscribe, like and subscribe. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. You already know where you can find this podcast because you already found this podcast. Whether it was on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, other podcasts, brother podcasts. You already know. Be kind, like, and subscribe. You can also consider supporting the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring on Patreon. That's right, we have a Patreon. If you wanted to help support the show, you can choose a tier that fits. We have the Foundation tier, the Click tier, and the Gang Affiliated tier. And guys, if you become Gang Affiliated, you are one of us. As long as your debit card is one of us. But like I said, consider supporting the show on Patreon. And be kind, like, and subscribe. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, and we won't have any problems. All right, so let's get right into it. But, Kris, did you see this John LaJoie music video that's been going around?
Yes.
This thing was great.
At first, I didn't know what it was. I just saw a little clip of it. I'm like, what's going on here? And then I had to go into it, but it was great.
It's so good. Yes, so if you don't know, John LaJoie has come out with a music video called Hulk Hogan Slammed Andre the Giant. And in the video, Hulk Hogan does in fact slam Andre the Giant. This was just a great video. A decent song as well. Kind of, I know it's supposed to be a hokey comedy, like parody folk song, but kind of got to me a little bit.
Oh, he's good. He's always been good with his funny songs, so
We
I knew it was
came
quality.
Harkens back to a simpler time, brother.
If there's 135,000 people and he's slamming a giant, I get it.
Yeah, I meant more back in the day when I just was able to play with my LJN action figures. No, I didn't have that many LJNs. I had some of the ones in this video, though. I actually was remembering that when I was watching this video. So the whole video, this John LaJoy video, is all LJN, old school, big rubber action figures wrestling. It's Andre and Hogan wrestling in the LJN ring, and all the other wrestling figures are naturally the spectators. And the whole music video is just this really great action figure video.
But then
I never had any of those figures. I was very sad.
Watching the video, I remember, is it Steamboat? There's a Steamboat figure. I remember this dark-skinned, curly hair figure because the rubber, like the paint would come off as the more matches you had with these guys. And the figures in this video look pretty well worn. So I don't know if these are John LaJoy's figures or whose figures they are. I'm kind of curious because they look pretty well worn. They got Hulk Hogan slamming Andre. God, even this video made me think all the things you could do with those LJN figures when they weren't really posable at all. You could still have some decent matches.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart in there. The Hart Foundation, this Bret Hart figure looks very worn. Coco Beware. The Iron Sheik is in the video. A very worn out Piper. That white paint on that shirt never stayed on. It would always get scuffed.
How about that Bobby Heenan? Oh.
Yep.
I would love to have that.
Yeah, I had a few of these. I just vaguely remember maybe the Brood Eye one. It's got to be Steamboat because he's got like the claw. Did Steamboat used to like make the claw? But the skin's a little dark, I think, for Steamboat. But that's why I literally remember thinking that as a kid, though, when I had these. But no, I was more of the next stage where I did have this ring when they re-released this exact same ring as the Monster ring for the Jakks Pacific figures, just with different ring apron stickers. But I definitely remember the ring. And he even talks about going to Grandma's house in the song. But he was saying he would have to go to his grandma's house to watch WrestleMania 3, to watch Hulk Hogan slam Andre the Giant. But I would have to go to my grandma's house just for babysitting. And I hated going to my grandma's house. So I would bring my wrestling ring. And I would bring like 50 wrestlers. And I knew I had to be there for hours and hours on end. So I would plan these elaborate shows basically with my action figures to put on, and I would put them in, like when I brought them over in a little box, I would put the guys together that were going to wrestle, so then I could like try to spend the time not having fun at my grandmother's house, making this show kind of go a little slower here, you know? I wasn't smart like John LaJoy though, because at the end of this video he's got Godzilla gets in the ring, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man gets in the ring, He-Man, Skeletor, all the 80s action figures were involved here doing run-ins.
Yeah, I used to play with my other guys. Like I was a G.I. Joe. I always integrated them because I thought they were more flexible. I liked to do more fluent moves. So they were always involved in my wrestling matches. Well,
yeah, and you had some Hasbros that you came to a tag sale with at my house.
Yeah.
That I picked through before the official release to the tag sale. So somebody came and bought all of those, but I was able to get my hands on a pretty decent what was it, a Hasbro? No, is it a Jakks Pacific Paul Bearer? Because Hasbro didn't make a Paul Bearer.
I think that was a Jakks Pacific Paul Bearer, yeah.
So I got a Paul Bearer, and I also have a New Jack, which is the ECW toys that were out back then. I don't know is it San Francisco Toy Biz, something like that, one of those companies. Yeah. But yeah, so my daughter came into my office and she saw the New Jack figure, and he does a little arm movement with like the toy in the back, kind of like a Happy Meal toy would, and she wanted to take the New Jack and play with it because she saw it was already all scuffed up. And I mean, New Jack is wearing a noose around his neck on this figure. I'm like, and no, you can't have this one. Sorry, you can't. This one can't accidentally go to school with you.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
One day.
Yeah.
So I kept the New Jack higher up on the shelf from now on. Thanks, KRS.
I was just peeking at that video again. I feel like that It's not Ricky Steamboat. I feel like that's Kerry Von Erich.
What? But it's short hair. Are we talking about the same person? Okay, so if you freeze, are you watching the video?
Let me go back to it. Yeah.
Go back to it. Go to 101, 1 minute, 1 second, where you see Hulk Hogan picking up Andre for the slam. He's the guy next to who I believe is Miss Elizabeth in the like cocktail dress outfit that she had, or whatever.
Now we got to find this out. Yeah, because I really want to know now.
Because he's making the claw hand. Was it Kerry? Would Kerry make the claw hand as well? He would, yes, but then with the hair, with the curly, short black hair.
Let's go.
It's the guy that they put next to Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I swear.
Okay, well, I'm gonna Google that. I'm gonna Google it out. Kerry Von Erich, LJN. No. Nope. Kerry Von Erich. Look, the LJN looks like Kerry. Oh no, that's a custom. Hang on. Jeez. What is this? A major pod now? There was a Kerry Von Erich Hasbro. No, I don't think it was Kerry. They have a new one, a new elite style Kerry Von Erich that's coming out by the what's that company called? Power Town. No.
I wish I could. Oh man.
No way it was Kerry. It's got to be Steamboat. The mystery will live on. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, one day.
But yes, I don't know if like the song says when I'm down on being an old man or whatever, I'm going to think about the moment Hogan slammed Andre. Probably not, but probably not, brother.
I mean, honestly, I remember when Lex Luger slammed Yokozuna though. So
yeah,
no, that's not the same. But for me,
yeah, maybe when I'm down and I'm my father's age, I'll think about Lex Luger slamming Yoko. John LaJoy, you should have put that in your song. All right, let's get into some stuff here. So let's talk about the biggest story in and out of the ring, folks, and that is that the return to AEW of one CM Punk is official. It's Tony Khan official, because Tony Khan let us know on Dynamite this week that AEW Collision will feature CM Punk. Oh my gosh. Yes, the news about this has just been dripping out little by little each week. We've been able to have a CM Punk story on every show, and hopefully we will continue to do so, right? The one of the big drama scoops was they announced the show Collision, no CM Punk. To speak of, Warner Brothers Discovery even said CM Punk is not affiliated with this show.
I can't believe they got Warner Brothers Discovery in on this. Ugh.
I just think it wasn't done yet at the time. I just think he wasn't affiliated when they probably asked that question. The rumor was that CM Punk was not happy that Ace Steel was going to be a work from home person. He wanted his friend Ace Steel to allegedly have a job where he would be at the shows, presumably with Punk. And no, Ace Steel's a remote worker and allegedly will remain a remote worker.
We'll see.
I mean, you can't. Before remote work became very popular, if I knew all you had to do to become a remote worker was bite somebody at your job, I would have been biting fools like Mike Tyson.
Real.
Around the office. I would have been like George the Animal Steel, just eating the turnbuckle, except it would have been my coworkers.
Me too.
This is all you got to do to work from home?
Damn it, Ace Steel.
No, obviously we all know the roller coaster of drama that was. But yes, allegedly Ace Steel's back with AEW working remotely. Allegedly Kenny Omega still has a job. Well, he doesn't still have the job. He was given a job essentially after that. But yeah, so Punk is back, or he will be back. And we kind of knew. We didn't kind of know. We definitely knew when they booked the United Center, when they announced the United Center, because that was another thing. They announced the show, no CM Punk, all these dates for Canadian TV tapings or live tapings. Again, no Punk, no announcement of the show that was supposed to be at the United Center. Then we get the announcement that it's going to be at the United Center. So now we know it's just a formality, right? Do we find out in advance? Because you're not doing... there might be a day where AEW goes to the United Center without CM Punk, but they would have to say CM Punk is not on this show somehow.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, unless he was injured and it was well known. But the next time Punk flames out and then has another return, if it's at the United Center, you know, that's how we know it's going to be Punk. But so they announced the United Center, no Punk. Then this week on Dynamite, Tony Khan lets us know AEW Collision will feature CM Punk. So it's official. What do you think about this?
I mean, honestly, I think it's smart. I know we've said our things about CM Punk on the show before. I might think he's a little bit of an a-hole and whiny and kind of a jerk, but whatever. I like seeing him. I hope he's always interesting. I like the stories he's involved in, and hopefully nothing crazy. Well, actually, I hope something crazy happens because he's just going to keep doing what he wants, saying what he wants, getting away with it, and coming back.
So the one thing that I do know, or that I do think, is this stuff is not going to stop happening, right? Whatever the latest drama story is, right? Because that's all that's been happening since he's been gone is, other CM Punk related drama, right? Or not every week since he's been gone because he was injured for a while, but ever since the pace started to pick up with all the discussion of him coming back, it's just been one thing after another. And then that's how it was, a solid 3 or 4 months before he left. I mean, he had issues with Hangman Page. He had issues with Moxley, obviously the Elite. So that part of it, I don't think is going to come to an end, at least permanently. I just think it's a matter of, he would have to literally be on his best behavior from now until the end of his career for that not to happen, for there to be no drama, and it just doesn't seem likely. Also injuries. He's been getting injured in most of his matches, I feel like. He's been injured twice or 3 times already since he's been back, right?
That's what I should have said. I should have said that's honestly the only issue, I think, because it's wrestling, like people are going to do dumb stuff. People are going to get in trouble. They're going to come back because we just want to see people, right? But I think he gets hurt too much now, but that could just be maybe if he just gets in the ring and knocks off a little more rust, he won't. But I feel like he does get injured a lot, and that might be important.
Yeah, and they're putting him on this show. And the thing everybody's talking about is how AEW has to split their roster just because CM Punk can't get along with anybody. And whether or not that's true, the thing that no one's really talking about, or less people are talking about, is AEW is heavily relying on CM Punk on a week-to-week basis with this show, right?
Yeah.
So is he going to wrestle every week, or is he gonna do the commentary thing like he did where he'd pop up on commentary in the past? It seems like he's the main star of the show, so he's going to have to wrestle, right? More than MJF does currently.
I would say, yeah, probably. Maybe not. CM Punk can hold his own. He can cut promos only. He has to wrestle sometimes, but he might be able to just be involved without wrestling. But I'm not saying he should be like a GM or anything. That garbage, but
yeah,
maybe commentary would work. I kind of like him on commentary. It'd be kind of weird though if he was wrestling but also doing commentary all the time. I find that kind of strange.
Yeah, it's when he came back, it was sort of like, well, we all know CM Punk can do it all, so let's just have him do it all. Like have him be a special guest referee one day, because you're not really sick of him yet. He hasn't really found his groove. He's not like that only once in a while type guy. It's like we want to see more of him, so put him on commentary when he's not in the ring, So, but I don't think that's really going to happen on the new show. I think he's just going to be the star of the show, talent wise. So I think he'll be the main featured guy, but. Yes, and I like the Collision logo and the motif that they're going with, because the Collision logo kind of looks like obviously the TNT Nitro style logo, but then also the whole background thing and motion graphic stuff that they're doing is kind of like the old WCW Saturday Night, like the entranceway that was like this weird like spaceship door, right? Remember? I always thought that was cool when I was younger.
Me too.
Like, like people are just coming out the door and there's like smoke, so you don't really know who it is. And the camera's right there, So you'd always get that, like, you don't know who it is until they come out, and then it's like, oh, it's Macho Man or whatever,
I know, but of course for me...
Or Glacier.
Yeah. When I was watching Saturday Night, WCW Saturday Night, it was way late in its run, so it'd be like Viano 4. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah. Or like 50 guys on one episode. That would be good. They would have like 2-minute matches and it would just be 2 hours. Like, great. Awesome. But yeah, I thought that was cool. But it also, just looking at this CM Punk Collision poster social graphic they put out, it just looks like CM Punk is waiting in line at the Rise of the Resistance queue at Disney World. If you look at it, it just looks like the inside of like a Star Destroyer or something. Like he's just hanging out waiting to get on the ride vehicle on Rise. But yes, I think that yeah, you see it.
It's great, yeah.
It does.
Very good, yeah.
So I think that the rumor was Samoa Joe as a potential first opponent. That seems good. There's a lot of options. I know that they were in that press release that didn't feature CM Punk. They announced names like Andrade, Miro, Thunder Rosa. They also had in the weird like commercial for Collision that they've been airing, Scorpio Sky showing up. Give me CM Punk versus Scorpio Sky. I'm down for that.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming the person whose action figure I just pre-ordered is also going to be on AEW Collision, and that is, of course, Danhausen.
Yes.
I really wonder what they'll do with the rest of the titles, right? Because what are you going to do with the AEW title? What are you going to do with the tag titles? Are you going to have like the international title? Is that going to be kind of exclusive? To me, the TNT title should go on this show because this is the show that's on TNT. I always hate when they do this, when they have like, okay, we're going to defend the TBS title on Rampage, which is on TNT, and then we're going to have the TNT title be defended on, I mean, that's unless it's on Rampage, but this new show is going to be on Rampage. So they really have a chance to clean that up with the TNT and the TBS, you know?
Yeah, I hope they do. That's a good idea, though. I mean, because I think you can build a show around a title like that, even if it's not the world title. It makes the belt feel more important. So I hope that's the way they're going.
Yeah, it just really doesn't make sense to me to have a TNT title being defended on TBS. Put the TBS title on there. It's just, I don't know why. But I mean, it doesn't have to be like a set rule or anything, but just in general, to me, the TNT title would be a good fit for the Collision show.
Like, I think because I think one of the women's titles will be on that show. I don't think it's going to be quote unquote exclusive, but I think one of them will be on that show. So you just have more talent, on the show fighting for something. It's more focused storylines, which is something to be said about splitting a roster. So hopefully that also happens. There's more focus on different belts, different people, and more stories. Yeah,
and it'll be interesting. I think Darby Allin was on the press release. They have a lot of talent that they could very much like feature, whether it's not just who can wrestle CM Punk, because a lot of guys could wrestle CM Punk. Yeah. You could have Powerhouse Hobbs could have a feud with CM Punk, like we mentioned, Samoa Joe. You've got Jay White. You've got Jeff Jarrett. No, just kidding. There's tons of guys that could really benefit from a program with CM Punk, but there's also the whole roster, whichever sort of half you decide to dedicate to Collision. They could also just benefit from being in just feuds that get more television time.
Exactly.
Whereas, okay, you're in the second match on Dynamite and it's a 6-man match and it's not, or whatever it is, it's a trios match, but you're not really in this trio. It's kind of a one-time trio, or it's an 8-man match and you just met the guy backstage last week and we had to cram 8 guys into the match. Like, hopefully we can get people like Swerve, really just Swerve, I think.
I was like you said, Miro. I'd like him on my TV more. That'd be fun.
Yep, Miro coming back. Oh, I mean, allegedly he went to Tony Khan's office. I don't know. Maybe Miro's going to be the GM of Collision.
It could be.
I don't know. Yeah, and Andrade obviously coming back. He's got Andrade is another one in the locker room there. Haven't seen him in the locker room in a while, and we don't want to have any issues with him and the soon-to-be father, Sammy Guevara, who we'll get to when we talk about Double or Nothing. But yeah, we'll see what the pace of the show is. If they center it around is it going to be like a big feud? Like it's always going to be like a Adam Cole, CM Punk type of a feud where there's like these two big names, or is it going to be just this kind of like Saturday Night was, where it's just I mean, it's kind of like what AEW Dark was, where it's just a bunch of matches, and the one guy who's not an enhancement talent is going to always win, which is what it was on AEW Dark, right?
Yep.
It's like, here's Pentagon and Phoenix versus some local people that we had to change their name for this episode. No, they wouldn't really change people's names on AEW Dark, but, you know, the local talent didn't really win.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know? But I think I even watched sometimes, I think when we went to Dynamite, I think I saw some of our favorites lose to like the Factory. And I was like, what?
Yes.
Brutal.
We're like, come on.
Yeah.
Do you know who Bobby Jr. is?
Jesus, it's the Shook Crew guys. But yeah, so we'll see, like I said, if it's going to be this kind of fast-paced show like Dynamite where we're just clicking through segment to segment, or if they let it breathe a little bit, you know, let people stand in the ring for a few seconds after their match kind of thing.
Do you think Dynamite will stop being so fast-paced because they have a whole other show that's a little more, not that Rampage isn't taken seriously, but I feel like Collision's going to be taken very serious. I wonder if Dynamite will kind of slow down because they don't have to rush through so much stuff. Yeah,
I think that it'll be a different situation on Dynamite because right now they try to pack in as many meaningful things as they can, and they really only use less meaningful matches kind of in those in between things. And some weeks they just have too many storylines. It's for whatever reason, it's just like, tonight we'll hear from Christian, tonight we'll hear from Wardlow, tonight we'll hear from MJF, tonight we will hear from Swerve. And it's like, Excalibur, take a break.
I will miss Excalibur, though, just rifling off everything as fast as he can. I do enjoy that.
Yeah, there was another one this week on Dynamite. He had a moment, too, where he just started to kind of... I thought he was just saying names. I thought he just went into just roster reading mode of just, Penta, Phoenix, Bandito. I'm just like, just somebody calm this man down. No. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what Dynamite looks like as well. Like you said, with this Collision show, I do think that, Tony Khan is really big on the numbers. He's a numbers guy, as everybody likes to say. And the quarter hours, the breakdowns, how a guy's segment does, after another guy's segment, they look at all that stuff. So it'll be interesting when you pull some of that talent from Dynamite to see if you still have those same players on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Or if there's any noticeable drop, if not that the quality of the show would go down because there's such a big roster that you could just put in somebody else that's featured less often. But if the people that we see every week on Dynamite, if half of those people kind of get pulled to go to Collision, we'll see how it affects kind of the flow and the ratings for Dynamite.
We'll see. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some Double or Nothing. So AEW was in Las Vegas this past Sunday for Double or Nothing at the T-Mobile Arena. Overall, I thought it was a very good show. I know that there was a lot of criticism because of whatever it was, either the production or the crowd was not that hot for some of it, or some of the matches didn't hit, but like I said, top to bottom, I thought it was a good show. It had a little weird lull there in the middle. Obviously, the Adam Cole, Chris Jericho match wasn't really a hit with the live crowd, and also that came across on TV as well. And I don't know what it is, but it does seem to affect, especially when there's a bigger arena, a bigger kind of setting, a dead crowd does come across on TV as kind of like the show is less exciting a little bit, don't you think, first?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I sometimes, why I was doing this, I don't know, but sometimes I'll watch old like ECW shows without the volume, maybe because my wife's in the room, I don't know. And it's just not that great. And then I put the volume on and the crowd's so into it that I get into it. So it definitely, if the crowd's not into a certain something, it really kind of like takes the air out of the room, deflates it, definitely. Yeah, like there can obviously be a whole lot of great wrestling happening with no crowd. But for whatever reason, the crowd is definitely a factor. And at times during this show, it didn't, to me, I thought the crowd was so quiet at a certain point. I'm like, did they like cram the whole crowd into that visible camera where like, do they just move everybody and is there nobody else here? But no, it really was just kind of that one match, and just the way they structured the show,
they didn't, and also the way that they put people in matches in this one, there wasn't, I mean, the opener was actually great, that Battle Royal, but there wasn't like a, Lucha Brothers high-flying, action-packed, the Elite kind of a match in the beginning of the show. Those guys were all kind of at the end. Obviously not the Lucha Brothers because they were in the Battle Royal, but so but we'll get to that. We're going to go through, we're actually going to start at the top. So let's open at the close with Anarchy in the Arena. This was another great edition of Anarchy in the Arena. This is becoming one of my favorite match styles, really at all, because, and I noticed it this time around, the camera cuts, these jump cuts are so, this is like if Kevin Dunn actually did his job right, this is what it would look like, because you're going to the action points, not away from them every second. So this was like a sensory overload when I'm watching this of you couldn't even keep up. You're like, okay, Matt Jackson's getting punched by Claudio, but now Bryan Danielson is, and you see somebody in the background doing something else, and it's like, and they cut to that, and it's like you just missed the punch. But this was a lot of fun, hard to keep up with. I had to watch this one a few times. So we're going to go through this one, Anarchy in the Arena. We had The Elite, Kenny Omega, The Young Bucks, and Adam Hangman Page versus Blackpool Combat Club, Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. Like I said, this one was a lot of fun. Justin Roberts lets us know that shit's about to hit the fan, and everybody loved that. So The Elite come out, and then the band, The Violent Idols, come out and play the song Wild Thing. So last year at Anarchy in the Arena, the music played on loop until Jericho, I believe it was, just knocked out the music middle of the match. So this year we had the band and the questionable blackface resembling mask and face paint of the lead singer. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Poor decision. I feel.
Yes, I think so.
I mean, it's the best thing you could say about it was that it was a poor decision.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh God, I didn't know what was going on, honestly. But then I was like, oh, this is just a band. Okay. But I was getting nervous.
Yeah. I was not the best decision there. But yes, more on him shortly.
Great.
So the Blackpool Combat Club comes in through the crowd. The Elite meet them in the crowd to get this brawl started. Like I said, this was some serious sensory overload, just fast jump cuts to high impact spots, one after the other. The ending was great as well, which we're going to get to. I couldn't keep track of what was going on, like I mentioned, and neither could the commentary team because they kept mixing up which Young Buck was on screen throughout this match. Don Callis was in and out of the commentary booth throughout this one. Kenny Omega's out of his mind. I'm not safe out here.
He's great. He's right.
More on Don Callis as well. So early on, we get Hangman Page ripping off his eye patch to reveal an eye.
Oh.
His eye was fine. There was a screwdriver. All 8 men kind of mixed it up in the ring in the beginning. The band just kept playing the Wild Thing. Each member of the Elite went up on each turnbuckle, and they were beating down on each member of the Blackpool Combat Club. We had a 4-way super kick from the Elite. The Elite set up a 4-way tope suicida like they were Ricochet and Will Ospreay and the best of the Super Juniors. Vader would not approve.
Hell no.
Of this. Omega in the ring beating on Moxley with just a piece of the announce table. Moxley is bleeding. Actually, I think Rick Knox was the first one bleeding in the match.
Right.
But Moxley became jealous, so he started to bleed. I think he just thought about it, and he just kind of started to bleed.
That's how crazy he is.
So Matt Jackson does the locomotion Northern Lights suplexes on Wheeler Yuta all the way down the ramp. This was actually Matt Jackson's first match back after being cleared.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Even though he came out and did these suplexes on Dynamite and he on the floor and he was not cleared. But yes, Nick Jackson at this point just comes running down the ramp and just does a leaping senton onto Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Hangman and Omega kind of regain their cohesiveness as partners in this match. They had to work together to fight. Then we had Claudio and Matt Jackson just brawled their way up the stairs, out onto the concourse, eventually out of the building and into a pickup truck. So when they were out amongst the fans on the concourse, we got a big swing on Matt Jackson. I just thought Claudio was going to throw Matt Jackson into the people, but no, he ended up, he just gets sent into a trash can on the floor. Not like into the trash can like a bully would do or something, but just like this big swing into the trash can.
Yeah.
Omega and Moxley, they brawl over to the big poker chip, which of course is laced with glass and barbed wire.
Ugh.
Danielson rips Justin Roberts' jacket off of him and uses it to choke Hangman Page. Excalibur says, Justin Roberts having PTSD. Like, what is funny about that, Excalibur?
Unbelievable.
If that's the case, there's nothing funny about that. Haha, look at that man over there. He's suffering a bout of PTSD right before our very eyes. He hates life right now.
Thanks, Excalibur.
No, he was obviously talking about back in the day when Bryan was just an NXT person, right?
Yep.
And he went a little too hard during a beatdown segment, and as we all know, he did choke Justin Roberts with Justin Roberts' own tie, thus legitimately getting fired from WWE at that point.
Pretty crazy.
So they went over to Justin Roberts and ripped his jacket off. When it was all happening, I actually got PTSD. I imagined Justin Roberts getting choked. I was like, oh, no, don't do it to him. What else?
So I'm thinking about the stuff that JBL did to him.
Moxley stabbing Omega with we cut to Moxley and Omega. Moxley stabbing Omega with a fork near the entrance ramp.
Is it really a Moxley like brawl without a fork?
Guess not.
Let's go.
So Claudio, like I said, he carried Matt Jackson just straight out of the building into a pickup truck. We go back. Moxley goes into the barbed wire poker chip off screen. So we just pick back up with Moxley writhing in pain.
Ugh.
Like, he doesn't even need you to see it. He just needs you to tell him it's okay to do it.
That's right.
He doesn't even need anybody to be there. He's just like ready to blade and fork everything. He's just let me do it, please.
So.
Man's addicted to blood, as he said. He said it, not me. His comeback, if you remember. So what else? Wheeler Yuta kind of staying ringside for this one, really. Fighting it out with Hangman in the ring. Danielson ringside, just beating on Nick Jackson at one point. So at one point, Wheeler Yuta was just sitting in a chair in the ring alone. Blackpool Combat Club kind of gains the upper hand. They're really dominating the match. Bryan Danielson, knowing that red equals green, is attempting to draw blood from Nick Jackson. He's trying to draw blood and money on the floor. He's just got Nick Jackson, and he's just like, it was just like he was trying to write on his head. Like it was like he was trying to sign his name on Nick Jackson's forehead. Like an autograph where you just let the tail end of it go.
Yeah.
He's just, I mean, I don't want to do anything irresponsible, but it looked like a blade job to me. He cared a little bit about Bryan Danielson, getting enough blood to come out in that moment. Because if you're just trying to beat on somebody, you don't care if they're bleeding, you don't care if it's a drop. He really needed to make sure that blood went in a certain direction and that it was pouring,
Oh, yeah.
Claudio, like I said, pile drives Matt Jackson in the truck. Presumably, to me, this was the end of the match for Matt Jackson, so I thought. Good way to write him off. Pile drive the guy in a truck.
I would say so, yeah.
Wheeler Yuta has a leaf blower in the ring, and he just nails Kenny Omega across the back with it. Danielson is losing his mind at this point in the match. He's just covered in Nick Jackson's blood after he sent Nick Jackson soaring off camera. Excalibur lets us know that this type of match favors the BCC. Because, like I said, they're kind of gaining the upper hand. Hangman decides to hit Moxley with a dead eye on the ring apron. Kenny Omega using the trash can lid like Captain America's shield. But he's going for Superman punches with the shield. He's very proficient with his trash can shield. Kenny Omega has become. Like when they ran down the ramp on Dynamite when they all got back together and he just ran down, I think it was Wheeler Yuta. He just hits him with a big Superman punch. Just a perfect, like any moment of that, you could have screen grabbed. It would have been a perfect like superhero comic book pose from Omega. But yeah, and then Excalibur says something about Steve Rogers' pants. Now, I know Kenny Omega was wearing some Captain America inspired gear, and I saw the Captain America shield on Kenny Omega's knee pads and his gear, and I saw the Canadian maple leaf on the shield because he is Canadian. Makes sense. But the pants Kenny Omega was wearing were white, which to me, that is not really a Steve Rogers Captain America. To me, that's more of a Sam Wilson Captain America because he wore white as Captain America. Steve Rogers didn't really wear white. So.
Got him.
I mean, maybe Kenny was just wearing white because it was a pay-per-view and it's still somehow a Captain America Steve Rogers thing. I just don't know. But yes, Matt Jackson does return to ringside. Oh, wait, I think I skipped ahead a little bit. We got Kenny Omega using the trash can shield. Nick Jackson kicks out of a gotch pile driver by Moxley. So this was a good moment that I didn't want to skip over. So Moxley has Nick Jackson in a single leg crab. Omega hits him with a big boot to the face. Moxley, fuck you. Omega hits him with another one. Moxley, fuck off.
Got unhinged.
And then eventually he broke the hold because I think Omega hit him with another one. But yes, Matt Jackson returns to ringside, like I mentioned. Moxley has Nick Jackson in a sit-out Boston Crab, basically. Matt Jackson hits Jon Moxley with a super kick that explodes in Moxley's face. Wow, that was good. This is what they needed Matt Jackson off screen for, apparently.
Yes.
To load up, like Tony Schiavone said, load up another one. Tony Schiavone, you sick fuck, you sick fuck, you sick fuck. Tony Schiavone said, load up another one. Tried to melt off Jon Moxley's face. I thought Moxley was sick. Tony Schiavone's out here.
The original one, Schiavone.
Jeez, this was Anarchy. So yes, this was a cool spot. I'm glad it went good. This was literally a bigger explosion than you know what.
Yeah.
So, yes, it was good. It went off. It happened. It didn't look like anybody got literally burned too bad. Moxley's back, obviously, from that glass I mentioned earlier, looked pretty bad. Moxley's back looked like a piece of furniture that you would buy with like the broken glass glued back onto it. Just glass shards all over his back. His back looked like a glass coffee table.
Ugh.
So yes, a super kick that explodes right in Moxley's face. So Moxley brings out the thumbtacks. Danielson and Yuta double teaming Matt Jackson, who is now barefoot, right? Because maybe his foot got hot from the explosive device that he somehow rigged up. Mm-hmm. Which nobody asks these guys how they become proficient with explosives. You know? Like, where did you learn this? We had a Moxley picking up Matt Jackson and just smashes him down barefoot first onto the tacks, and they showed you the heel of Matt Jackson's foot just so you knew there were tacks in his foot.
I hated it. Yep.
It was just covered in tacks. We got a Death Rider by Mox on Matt Buck. Matt Buck kicks out. Nick Buck hits a swanton on Danielson. His face lands in the tacks.
Oh.
I think everybody was just trying to land in the tacks. It was like a video game, a wrestling video game where like they only let you do the move in like the certain thing, so your body just randomly moves into the right spot.
Yep.
The game will just move you even if you're not in the right spot. Like everybody just did that just to be like, oh, I got the tacks on my elbow. Oh, tacks.
Ugh.
So yes, they were tacks. Nick Jackson wanted some on his face. Omega hits a V trigger on Claudio. Danielson hits a Busaiku knee on Omega and on Hangman. Where was Bryan Danielson been this whole match? This is what I thought when this was going on. So then we get elbows to Omega from Danielson. Now the BCC are just raining down elbows on the entire Elite. Matt Jackson limps back in. Yuta gives him a low blow. BCC is in control. Omega and Hangman, they rally back and fight side by side. They fight like back to back. We got a bar fight like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Moxley in this fight just tried to land on the tacks the first chance he got. Like he just wanted to cuddle with them.
He needed it. He was fiending. He needed something.
He's like, you guys know how long it's been? It's been like 2 minutes since my skin has been punctured. So Danielson now kicking both men, Hangman and Omega. Hangman hits a dead eye, and Kenny Omega hits a one-winged angel on Danielson. Good night, Danielson. He pins him, but Wheeler Yuta interrupts the count. Wow.
Got him.
I mean, we're getting to the end here. You know, there's a one-winged angel popping off.
Yep.
Omega and Hangman, they have Wheeler Yuta in the ring. They hit the two-man version. They need to have a name for this move. The tandem RVD rolling moonsault combo is basically what it was. It was the move that Omega does that was straight out of RVD's book.
Oh, yeah, huh?
Where he does the rolling second rope moonsault. And this has got to be it for Wheeler Yuta. He dodges a buckshot. He stabs Hangman, then eats a V-trigger. Then, guess who gets in the ring?
Oh, no.
Don Callis. Don Callis is in the ring, folks. Omega just stares down Don Callis. Then a mystery man runs in and hits Kenny with a flying knee. It's Takeshita. The match comes to an end with Wheeler Yuta pinning Kenny Omega.
Man.
Wow. Let's just take a second here. I did not have that one in my book. Wheeler Yuta winning Anarchy in the Arena by pinning Kenny Omega.
Pretty good.
It was great. Like I said, it was sensory overload. They were cutting back and forth. It was like a punch, and then they cut to, and I realized halfway through, there's essentially 5 brawls going on that they can just always cut to. And no one match could ever have this much of a brawl, because eventually the two guys that are brawling, and if it's just a big punch in the crowd, throwing popcorn at your face from the fans, eventually you'd want those guys to like get back in the ring, or do, just progress the story a little bit of the match. But when there's 10 guys and there's 5 basically mini fights happening all over the place, it's like, you're just going to go to the next one. You don't need, so it's just like a punch over here, a punch over there, rip off Justin Roberts' jacket, thumbtacks, part of the table. It's like, it was just chaos. And they told a good story as well, which with the ending with Don Callis getting in the ring, getting that heat. And then, which Konosuke Takeshita, we forgot about him. Where has he been? Don Callis called him out to help the Elite, to save the day when the Elite were getting ganged up on, when Danielson was walking down the ramp saying that Kenny Omega had all this potential or whatever, and he's a loser. And Takeshita saved the day. And then all of a sudden, Hangman shows back up, and we forgot all about Takeshita. Shame on us.
Yep.
But yes, we'll talk a little bit about Don Callis and the nuclear heat he got on Dynamite, which I thought was incredible. saying Takeshita was better than Ricky Dozan. But we're going to keep with the double or nothing. So after the match, they continue the beatdown on Omega. Don Callis is choking Kenny Omega with his belt. Takeshita is a bad guy now. The crowd boos the victorious Blackpool Combat Club. Moxley just flips him off with Callis and Takeshita standing in the ring. My thoughts on this was that it was a great match. The MVP of the match was Moxley. Wheeler Yuta also, I thought, was great in this match as well. But mainly the MVP was Moxley the Butcher. So then I guess after the show, Kenny Omega cut a goodbye promo for the live crowd, and he mentioned that he has 1 or 2 friends outside of AEW that he could call. Cough Okada. Cough, cough, Ibushi.
Ooh.
Okada. Ibushi.
That's you.
Excuse me. You get choked up talking.
You hit that button when you cough. Jeez.
I know, I forgot to hit the mute button. Yes, so Kenny Omega's got some friends outside of AEW that he can call. And then on Dynamite, we got a little backstage segment with the Elite where they said, is it true that Kenny Omega went back to Canada? And Hangman Page let us know that Kenny Omega, he is not in the country, but he's also not in Canada. So... Ooh. Don't know where Tyson Smith's passport is these days, but we all know. We all know what comes next. I told wrestling fan Kris before the show what comes next, and he's already upset about it. So, yes, Kenny Omega. We'll see where he turns up next, folks. Could be anywhere. So, yeah, that was Anarchy in the Arena, but before that, we were treated to the 4 Pillars AEW Championship Max. AEW, the champion is Max. I wasn't wrong. The AEW Championship match. And folks, it was a great match. So, you know what? You know what I saw on the internet, and forgive me for not knowing who either reported this or said it, that the person who came up with the story for the 4 Pillars feud and story was none other than MJ Max. Right?
I get that too, yes.
So there we go, folks. I have been a proponent of this story since the beginning, since it started on this show. Everybody else was saying, oh, it's not good enough. It's not doing it for me. Oh, MJF had to come out and save the segment. I thought it was fine. I thought it was much more entertaining than most of the stuff we see on WWE TV. And yes, These guys, the 4 Pillars... They were not coming off of these strong, dominant wins over people like Kenny Omega, right? It wasn't like Jungle Boy was coming off of kicking out of the One-Winged Angel coming into this feud, for sure. But I liked every step of the way. You have to build certain guys, and I felt like that's really what this whole story served to do, because you get these segments, but there's so many. There's so many segments, there's so many shows, there's so many wrestlers, there's so many things that can take your attention away, and we just move on to the next thing so quickly. So a lot of wrestlers, a lot of talent don't really get the opportunity to kind of give you that backstory and add like layers and dimension to their character, even just kind of catch you up on what they've been doing, kind of if you haven't been following every single, move that they do in a match. So that's kind of what this whole feud did for me. Like I've been saying, we had all of these guys came into AEW at the same time, right? The beginning of AEW. They were called the 4 Pillars because they were the young prospects with really the most potential. I mean, there's a lot of people in AEW with a lot of potential, but these guys were the ones that everybody picked out and said, these are going to be the 4 Pillars. And they all kind of came and they all had a mentor. They all went their separate ways. MJF was, if we remember, Cody's best friend. Then he turned on Cody. He formed the Pinnacle, went from there. Then we have Darby Allin, linked up with Sting, feud with CM Punk. Darby Allin was like Jungle Boy, had his whole tag team championship run with Luchasaurus, became an apprentice for Christian. Christian said he was here to outwork everyone, and then he worked everyone, Jungle Boy included. So Jungle Boy learned his lesson there. Sammy Guevara, we all know Sammy's story. You know, he's been locked up with Chris Jericho since episode 1 of Dynamite. They're in the tag team Lay Sex Gods, just being in the inner circle, then being in the Jericho Appreciation Society, getting his wife Ty on screen with him as basically like a valet. And yes, you know, having these excellent matches. And I tweeted this the day of the show. I tweeted from the Watch at W Wrestling Pod on Twitter, which you should follow us on Twitter at W Wrestling Pod. I tweeted out watching Double or Nothing and ready for Sammy Guevara to wrestle for the AEW World Championship. And yeah, we all know Sammy's story. He started working at Taco Bell and everything like that, and other places, Whataburger, whatever, to wrestle on the indies. I mean, I remember watching a Sammy Guevara vlog from back in the day where he was driving his car. I don't even know if it was his car, but he was driving to a SmackDown that was relatively close to him in Texas just to do like a dark match on SmackDown. And he got in his car afterwards and he was like losing his mind about how you need to follow your dreams because this is what will happen, right? And this is, again, when he was driving to SmackDown to be an extra. This is why I tweeted out that I was ready to see Sammy Guevara wrestle for the AEW World Championship, right? So, and of course, who was the MVP of the Four Pillars match? Sammy Guevara, like he is in most of his matches when he had the TNT Championship runs. I think he was actually Cody's last match in AEW, I think was that ladder match against Sammy. So, and then obviously Sammy got the monster heat from the crowd because of everything on the internet. But yes, and now they all kind of, and then we have MJF, obviously, who is the world champion, right? So they all kind of come back and they each have their own grievances about why they should be in MJF's spot and why they'll never be like MJF because they're not these giant douchebags and he's the devil and they're not going to do what he did to get to the top and everything like that. And I just thought it added a lot of layers to each one of these guys because they are all kind of connected, right? At least so far. So they've been able to come out here and just even juxtaposing the four of them, how far they've come, how they've evolved their character from when AEW first started. Jungle Boy left the jungle, now he lives in the city, whatever. Darby Allin, the videos from Darby, which we'll get to in a sec. Yeah, so this is what I wrote in my notes for the AEW Championship 4 Pillars 4-way match. For the entrances, MJF, Throne. Sammy, Baby. Darby, disposing of a body with Elvis. Jungle, nothing.
No, he doesn't need anything. He's good.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, I thought that the MVP of the 4 Pillars feud and the matches setting up this was Darby Allin, right? Leading in. He was the one schooling everybody. He was schooling Max, telling Max to go to therapy. Come on. Darby Allin, during this program, told MJF that therapy is awesome and he should go to therapy. It's like, he's obviously the one who has gained the most knowledge, right, in the few years of AEW out of these 4 guys so far, right? So, yes, MJF got a nice orchestral rendition of his entrance. Might have just been like violins. I don't know. It just seemed orchestral of before his normal music hit. He also had some ladies in masks kind of out there for him as he walked as part of his entrance. Sammy Guevara. So let's take a moment now. Sammy and Ty come out for their entrance, and they have the cue cards, right, that Sammy used to do on Dynamite in picture-in-picture. And they said that tonight is the big night, and before the big match, we have something to share with you guys. And then they, flipped the card, and it says, "We're having a baby," and then it was like some pictures of their ultrasound, which I thought was great. Congratulations to Sammy and Ty. Sammy said on his little mini vlog that he put out that Ty actually wrestled pregnant in the very early days of her pregnancy. I think it was at a New England wrestling show. So we could have seen Ty Conti wrestle pregnant Kris.
Damn.
Only we left the house. So, yeah. So, congrats to Ty Conti, or Ty Mello, I should say, and Sammy Guevara. So, Sammy walking to the ring in the world title match, now about to be a father. Put the belt on this man, please.
Jeez Louise, I know.
So, yeah. So, Sammy Guevara walking to the ring with the newfound disposition of impending fatherhood. So then Darby's not having a kid. He's having a dead Elvis body that he has to dispose of. Now, I will say this. Darby's videos, I don't know who's helping him. I don't know if AEW, I don't know if it's a production thing. I don't know if it's sometimes, if it's just him and a camera, like I imagine like some little, like a teenager with like one of those bulky old cameras, you know, on their skateboard. Yeah. Or if AEW is sending, you know, a camera crew to do this, some of these with Darby. But Darby was walking into a chapel in Las Vegas, getting ready to get married to an Elvis impersonator with the MJF mask on. You know, that old chestnut.
Yep.
And it's just he beats on the MJF guy. Really didn't even beat on him that much. He was just kind of punched him, kicked him, and knocked him down. Then he goes over to the Elvis impersonator, the minister, and he says, "You're going to help me dispose of this body." And the Elvis guy says, "Hey, man, it's just business. Wouldn't be the first time."
Love it.
And then, yeah, that was it. They Darby Allin and an Elvis impersonator head down the Las Vegas Strip with their body to dispose of, which who hasn't done that? So, yeah, Darby's disposing of bodies in his preparation for the world title. And then Jungle Boy, poor Jungle Boy, just nothing. Couldn't even get, like, some, like, jungle roars. Like, you know, couldn't even get, like, some trees on the stage. Like, MJF had these, like, models, and they were wearing, like antler masks, like, its eyes wide shut and everything. And Jungle Boy couldn't even get, like, some people dressed up as, like, the hyenas from The Lion King or something.
No.
So each of these guys brought their own high-flying, or their own variation to the kind of fast, high-flying, fast-paced style that they employ. So a lot of great stuff in this match. MJF at one point faked a tope and just ran the ropes and then did a strut. We had a A+ shooting star press from, you guessed it, Sammy Guevara onto everyone. Darby hit a nice, like, flipping stunner on MJF. And as it's happening, MJF just goes, "What the fuck?" Right before he got stunned. It was great. And then we got a nice running shooting star attempt off the apron by Sammy. Lands on his feet and hits Jungle Boy with a super kick.
Oh.
Sammy hit a cutter on Darby as he was going for a tope suicida, which this was awesome. Then he hit a Spanish fly on MJF in the ring and goes flying outside the ring onto Jungle Boy, then climbs up to the top rope and hits MJF with an Eddie Guerrero frog splash in the ring. Go ahead. Keep saying Sammy Guevara is not good, people.
He's good. If you say he's good, not good, I think you're wrong.
This was the first time of the whole show that I noticed the "Phil is a Cancer" sign in the crowd.
Oh, boy.
Do you know that? Phil's a Cancer?
Who's Phil?
I thought he was a Libra. Actually, what is his birthday? October astrology. A Libra. I just totally guessed right. He is a Libra. Phil's not a Cancer. He's a Libra. Come on. So like I said, that was when I noticed the "Phil is a Cancer" sign in the crowd. MJF just kept going for headlock takeovers, and so did Darby in this match. So we had the spot where each guy hit the move of their mentor, right? So Darby hits the Scorpion Death Drop, Sammy hits a Code Breaker, Jungle Boy hits a Kill Switch, which I believe somebody called an Unprettier. And MJF hits the Cody Rhodes Buster. No, the Crossroads. Because, I don't know if you remember, MJF was under the tutelage of Cody Rhodes prior to his disappearance. MJF in the middle of the match grabs the mic and tells Sammy, that he's got a baby on the way and that he should lay down and think about the baby. Sammy agrees and says, I'll do it, Max. I'll take the money. And then he obviously tries to roll up MJF. Doesn't work. So Sammy gets MJF in the walls of Jericho. Darby gets Jungle Boy in the Scorpion Deathlock. MJF goes to tap out and Jungle Boy stops him. That was fun.
Yep, good work.
Then they each get each other in a submission. So we got Darby. He is in an armbar by Jungle Boy, who is in a sleeper hold by MJF, who is in an ankle lock by Sammy Guevara, who is in a figure 4 by Darby Allin. Insane.
Yeah, pretty crazy. It
was great.
Oh, God.
The crowd at this point chanting about the video game. They were saying Fight Forever.
Hey, coming out soon.
Yeah, I don't know why the crowd wanted us to know about AEW Fight Forever, but that's what they were chanting. Fight Forever. Darby hits a code red on MJF. Sammy hits a Canadian Destroyer on Darby. Jungle Boy hits a Jungle Destroyer on Sammy. Then another Destroyer for MJF by Jungle Boy. Everybody was just... I mean, the real move of this match was the code red. So many. Talk about influence. We got a nice Tiger Driver by Jungle Boy. You know what I thought was funny? Jungle Boy does not play into this jungle character enough. At one point in this match, Jungle Boy was caught in a tree of woe, okay? He also lands a Tiger Driver. It's like, you got to keep it going. You got to keep doing this stuff with the names of moves having to do with nature. Like, he was in a tree of woe. Like, he should have a move where he is in the tree of woe. I don't know.
You can't affect him in the tree of woe.
Yeah.
You in the jungle.
Darby goes insane and double clotheslines MJF and Jungle Boy right into the crowd. This was the crowd moment of the match. Darby just going nuts. Which in the beginning of this match, I thought it was great. They get in the ring. They each have their own little entrance and they're in the ring. And Darby is like just slapping Sammy, trying to hype him up like they're friends though. You know?
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome. Just like imagine that moment, you know, you work to get to this moment. They're investing in this 4 pillars semi-main event match. And regardless of if some people online said, oh, the build wasn't that good or MJF is the only good one. It's like, well, you're here now. All that talk, all that chatter that people do. And MJF said it's about 7% of the AEW audience allegedly is, I don't know if it's on Twitter or whatever. But it's like, this is the moment, right? These guys are in the ring. They got their entrances. It's like, could have been hit or miss. The build could have been hit or miss. The crowd is they're there or they're not. They either sold the place out or they didn't. And they didn't sell it out, but they sold like a lot of tickets, I guess, like 10 or 11,000. It wasn't as big as last year. You're in the ring though, is the point I'm trying to make. Like all that stuff is noise. It is now time to prove why you should still be here. And I felt like that's what these 4 guys did in this match. Oh, like I said, Darby clotheslines MJF and Jungle Boy into the crowd. So then, yes, folks, then this happens. Darby goes up to the top rope with MJF and Jungle Boy on the outside. Sammy runs up and jumps up there with Darby and hits a Spanish fly on Darby onto MJF and Jungle Boy on the outside. Insane. This was my favorite move of the match of the whole night, for sure.
Oh, incredible.
This is amazing. Just, Darby's about to jump onto the 2 guys. Sammy says, no. Let me just give you a Spanish fly onto the outside onto those 2 guys. So the crowd reaction to this one was incredible. This was that crowd reaction where it's almost like they're all realizing what they just saw, but not in the exact same second. It was like, it wasn't like, yeah, or, ah, it was like, oh, it was almost like, you know, they just watched somebody get decapitated is what it sounded like, but it was just that amazing, you know? This was like Vikingo level shit, okay? So they all crawl back in the ring. They're all just exhausted, throwing punches. MJF just eye pokes everybody at this point. Then they double or triple team MJF, get a triple super kick on MJF. So now they're ganging up on MJF, and they toss him out of the ring. Then the other three have this crazy technical exchange of near falls that was really insane. They're literally just rolling each other up. It's just the three of them. They're just rolling each other up, and it's like a small package and a sunset flip, and it's like all this stuff. And it was just, the referee was just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Those are fun. I love those.
It was great. And this, I believe, is when they got the standing ovation from some people in the crowd, when the crowd just stood up. So, and then just more code reds by Darby in this match. MJF hits a blonde bombshell on Darby off the top rope. Thank you, Taz, for noting this and his friendship to the late Chris Candido.
Very good. Yep.
Jungle Boy just goes around, tries to pin everybody. They all kick out. MJF at this point pulls out the trusty Dynamite Diamond Ring. Darby pulls out the trusty skateboard. So he hits Max with the skateboard. Then a coffin drop on MJF and a headlock takeover. Darby Allin pins MJF and wins the AEW title with the headlock takeover. Oh, but no, it didn't happen. The pinfall gets interrupted by Jungle Boy. MJF, he's holding the AEW title. Sammy takes out MJF. Jungle Boy now has the title in his hand. He throws it down, and he will not use it on Darby Allin. Which, this is the first thing. This is where the Jungle Boy story is a little bit inconsistent. Because we talked about all of these guys and their mentors, and Darby learning from Sting, and MJF learning from Cody, and Sammy learning from Chris Jericho. But in the story with Jungle Boy and Christian, that story, well, I mean, it really ended with the coffin, like the coffin match that Christian just disappeared into a coffin. Yeah. And then, but at one point, Christian, I think it was just their match, Christian is up on the ramp with a chair underneath his head, and Jungle Boy is standing above him with the chair, deciding whether or not to execute the concerto on this already lifeless man. And he did it. Jungle Boy did smash Christian's head with that chair and concuss this poor old man. That was supposed to be the lesson he learned from Christian, right? Was to be ruthless.
Yes.
But he couldn't do it. When he had the AEW title, which would have been totally legal to use in this match, Jungle Boy could not complete the circle of life.
Nice. But you got it. Nice.
And take out MJF with the title. Or, I'm sorry, it wasn't MJF, it was Darby. He wouldn't use the title on Darby. Maybe he just wouldn't use it on his friend. Who knows? Sammy hits a GTH on Jungle Boy. Darby knocks him off the top rope. Darby goes for a coffin drop on Jungle Boy. MJF puts the title on Jungle Boy. Darby hits the coffin drop. MJF runs in with the headlock takeover, gets the pinfall on Darby Allin to retain the AEW World Championship. What a great match.
Loved it.
Very good match. One of my favorite matches in AEW. You know, I saw somebody tweet online, again, I'm sorry I don't have who tweeted it. It was like a visual graphic of the top 30 rated AEW matches of all time from like Cage Match. Mm-hmm. And they had each of the little match graphics. There's a lot of good ones on there. You know, it was like Omega versus Danielson, the 30-minute draw. There was like Danielson versus MJF, the Iron Man match. MJF versus Darby, the Acclaimed versus Swerve in Our Glory. I believe it was the first one from the pay-per-view that they had. Yeah. It was just a lot of great matches in AEW. So it's hard to really say this was like the best match. Obviously, there's definitely probably better matches, but this was up there for sure as an all-timer. And it just cemented why these guys should be in the main event, I think. I'm not necessarily saying that any of them came out as these new stars in the wrestling business. I'm not necessarily making that claim. Just letting you know that, in my opinion, these guys completely knocked it out of the park with this match. And like I said, proved to me why they all should be in the AEW title picture.
Yeah. They should be all taken seriously.
Which is exactly why from now on they won't be. No.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, it was a great match, and we already have seen on Dynamite they're kind of all going in different directions, but we'll see. We kind of know what's next for MJF, or we at least have an idea, so we'll see. So, also at Double or Nothing, we cannot leave this one out. We have a new TBS champion, folks, only the second TBS champion. So, first, we had Jade Cargill versus Taya Valkyrie, a good match. Jade won with a Jaded after kicking out of the Road to Valhalla.
No.
So then Jade says she was issuing an open challenge, and she got a surprise challenger in the returning Kris Statlander, who came out and beat Jade Cargill in a quick match. Hashtag and new TBS champion, Kris Statlander. I thought this was good.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I like it. It's an open challenge, so there's quote unquote no time to prepare. Get Kris Statlander back. Good return. Good win. I like it too.
Yeah, and as far as Jade losing, obviously all these streaks have to come to an end. It was getting a little stale in that, like, Jade's on this streak and she was up to 60-0. Maybe even it was 61 with Taya. I don't know what they were trying to do versus what the actual number was. But, it's not like she was moving up in, like, they were trying to find opponents for Jade, but it wasn't like, she was ready to take on, Britt Baker or Tony Storm here in a 25-minute classic. So at a certain point, it like gets old, the streak. Like, it's like Goldberg's streak, right? It's like it had to end at a certain point.
Yeah.
And this way they end the streak. We get a little break from Jade, and Jade loses, but like you said, it was a fresh challenger versus Jade, who had just competed in a match. So you can always kind of say that. So it wasn't like Jade just came out and got destroyed.
Exactly.
So there's always a little caveat there. But yes, great win, great return for Kris Statlander. Excited to see what she does as the TBS champion. And we'll see. I think Jade's taking some time off, I read online somewhere.
Good. It's always better, especially if you lose a streak like that, take a little time off, come back, dominate again, whatever. Works out.
How have we been going for this long? I have a lot more show.
Hey, a lot of stuff happened.
So also on the card, we had the House of Black issuing their open challenge for the AEW Trios titles, which was answered by the Acclaimed, and Max Caster's rap, folks, for this one was something. So he told Buddy Matthews that he was getting cucked by a kid named Dominic.
He's always great, isn't he? My
Crazy.
God.
So the match was okay. The House of Black is really a good trio. The more I watch these guys, they really are their own thing as a trio, because they're not all these like leaping, high flying guys that we think of when we think of the trios of like the Elite and like just in general people that you would used to see in PWG. Like Kenny Omega and whoever.
Yeah.
Chuck Taylor, I don't know. But these guys have their own trio like look. Because you have Aleister Black and Buddy Matthews, who are both, like, they both use a lot of, like, footwork and kicks and speed. But I would say Buddy Matthews would be more of, like, the high flyer, high impact guy. Whereas Malachi Black is more of, like, the technical striker of the two. Yep. And then you have Brody King, who's just a house. You ever have to fight a house?
I don't want to.
He is the House of Black.
He's the House of the Black, yeah.
No, he's just like, their gear all matches. They're all tatted up. They're all great too. And like Brody King, the way this guy moves is like, he does not move like a big guy. He's so quick. And it's like, plus once he gets moving, you just think he's going to take out whatever he crashes into. So yeah, I'm really liking them as a trio. The whole House of Black thing with the rules, and then the Acclaimed says we don't even need the advantage. Like, the Acclaim could have came up with a really funny rule. That could be an interesting thing, right? It's like you go against these other trios, and they all come up with, like, Orange Cassidy. They were like, what's the rule? No spooky witches. Okay, that's random, right? It's like we wouldn't think of that. So it's like, what else? What would the Acclaim think of, right? It's like maybe Anthony Bowen says, whatever, Brody King can't run in this match. He can only walk. Like, I don't know, make a weird rule. But no, they didn't do that. So that's kind of all noise and the whole competing with the lights out and stuff. It is interesting though. One thing, when the house lights are all off and they only have those above the ring lights on for the match, it really makes you just focus on like the guys standing in the corner, kind of like you would at a house show where there's really nothing going on around the ring because all the lights are off. So your focus is really just on the ring. So even, a guy just scratches his face, it's like you see it because it's all you can see. So it's interesting. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but so Anthony Bowens looked good in this one as well. So did Malachi Black. House of Black retained the trios titles. Like I said, it was a good match. Billy Gunn hit a huge famouser on Brody King, who sold this thing like I've never seen anyone sell the goddamn famouser by Billy Gunn. He sold this thing. He went flying on his head. This was great.
Yeah, man. Sometimes that pure athlete comes out of Billy Gunn and just happens to people.
So what else happened at Double or Nothing? Oh, just a new AEW Women's Champion, So yes, Toni Storm, your new champion. Sorry, I just ended up going to look at CM Punk's birthday again there for a sec. So yes, Toni Storm pins Jamie Hayter after hitting a Storm Zero with help from the Outcasts. Before the match, Hayter's injured arm was being worked heavily in the match, leading to her defeat by Toni Storm. Yeah, so in this one, it looks like Jamie Hayter was injured, so I think they just had to get the title off of her so she could heal up her, I believe it's her arm injury. So I'm sure she wants to be on that All In show in London, so hopefully she can rest up and heal up. And, I mean, at this point, maybe regain the title at All In London. Well, that would seem to make sense to me.
I think that makes sense to me, too, yes.
We also had Wardlow retaining the TNT title in a ladder match against Christian. We have to talk about this. So we got this huge swanton bomb in this match from Wardlow. I don't know how he didn't completely injure himself doing that.
Yeah, amazing.
So great form on the swanton bomb by Wardlow off of the tippy top of what I believe was the highest ladder that they had. You had Rick Knox and Arn Anderson clinging to this ladder for dear life, trying to keep this ladder still, which I'm actually a fan of. I'm totally fine with all of that, like people holding the ladders, because I'd rather just not watch these guys completely bust their ass and fall off top of a ladder. So if somebody has to hold it, to me, that's fine. But yes, incredible swanton from Wardlow. Arn Anderson comes out. It's just like the stuff Arn Anderson does doesn't always make sense. Can we say that? Like he says to Wardlow one week, like, it's time to start playing chess. Like, you're playing checkers. Now we're going to play chess. And then Wardlow gets attacked and beat up again later on by Christian and Luchasaurus. And then they're in like the doctor's office or whatever, and Arn Anderson's like, are you ready to do what we have to do? And then Wardlow's like, yeah, I'm ready to challenge him to a ladder match. Like, how's that playing chess? You're kind of falling right into his trap.
Yeah.
But Arn Anderson, he's always coming out and saying like, are you ready to stop being a dumbass and start being smart? And it's like, yes, we are finally ready for that, Arn. This is your 7th week coming out in these pajamas.
Yeah, poor Arn, yeah.
So, yeah, Arn Anderson comes out with like a tracksuit on, and he whispers something into Wardlow's ear, which I watched this one again. What could Arn Anderson possibly have ran down the ramp to whisper to Wardlow? Because this was a scene where Christian's climbing up the ladder. He's touching the title. He's like, got it, right. He's almost got it. Wardlow's on the outside. Arn comes over and whispers a little something into him. And it's like Wardlow just kicks into gear, sprints to life, goes on the top rope, and actually jumps onto the ladder, completely destroying the ladder. Right? Which I thought was good. You don't see that every day. Somebody like jumps on the ladder and just destroys it like that. Yeah. But it's like, what did Arn say? Like, hey, why don't you get up on top of the top rope and jump on top of the ladder?
Thanks, Arn. I was going to think of that.
Like, you better get up right now because he's about to win the match. Like, or do what we discussed. Like, do what I taught you It was like a Jedi moment where it's like you just see the Force ghost and you know what to do.
He's like, chess, kid.
Yeah. Pull out the Glock and sprays brains all over the pavement. And then Wardlow just goes in the ring, pulls a gun out. No. Yeah, but yeah, it's just funny that he whispered something into his ear and then Wardlow like jumped on top of the top rope and just leaped onto the ladder, which was a great move. And the ladder, rest in peace to that ladder. Mm-hmm. So he breaks the ladder. He tries to use that same ladder. Rick Knox is literally like looking at Wardlow and then like just pointing to the leg of the ladder that's broken. Like, don't use a different one. So then Wardlow got like pissed off at him and he like threw the ladder. But yeah, this was a fun match for sure. And anything else we had in here? In this match we had Arn Anderson. Oh yes. Luchasaurus comes down to the ring to get involved to help his new mentor Christian. And Arn Anderson bites the dinosaur's claw, and you just see this visible like Capri Sun sized blood pack in Arn Anderson's mouth. He's just trying to bite Luchasaurus's finger, but he's got like this gigantic blob of, again, it was like a Capri Sun sized thing in his mouth, and it just slowly bursts open a little bit. So Luchasaurus has got the bright red blood all over his finger because you got to be able to see it. You know, like we said earlier, red equals green. So Arn Anderson, and he's got it all over his face like he just ate a cherry pie, it looks like.
Maybe he did.
Who knew? Luchasaurus's blood is red. He may be a dinosaur, but he bleeds red like the rest of us. So yeah, I just thought it was funny. You could see the blood pack in Arn's mouth. It's just fun all around.
Top tier Arn.
Yes, and then Wardlow retained, went up and grabbed the title. It was a good ladder match. Definitely good for Wardlow. I don't know what this guy's got to do to get some respect. Someday he will.
Yeah.
Because he's doing everything. He's like checking all the boxes. We'll see. We'll see where Wardlow goes from here. Hopefully to Collision on TNT with that title.
I think he should.
To the TNT Championship. So we had the tag title match as well on this one, which wrestling fan Kris was over my house for a portion of Double or Nothing on Sunday. And we got up to this point, basically. The show started off with that Battle Royal, which we will get to. But the show really, say what you want about this tag title match being full of like cheap tricks and stuff. This match is what got the people going on this show. This crowd was relatively dead until this tag team match and until these Jeff Jarrett shenanigans.
I know. I hate saying it, but
so
I love him.
Say what you want about Jeff Jarrett, his tactics, his politics. Well, not his like personal politics, but his politicking in wrestling, always being around when no one asks for him. And just the presence of his wife, Karen, being the biggest example of that. Really, the only person that's left for AEW to bring in is Dixie Carter at this point.
Oh, God, don't say it too loud.
So, well, Dax said it. Oh, yeah, why'd you go back to Dixie Carter? Oh. Oh, yeah, Dixie Carter. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, now Karen Jarrett right along there with Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Satnam Singh taking on FTR. This was a match. The crowd heated it up. Like, the crowd getting into every spot made it a lot better. And, like I said, this match woke up the crowd and helped the show not die. I'll give it that, right? So, Karen Jarrett hitting Aubrey Edwards, referee Aubrey Edwards, with a guitar. Folks, I hope Aubrey gets some revenge on Karen Jarrett for this.
Me too.
FTR wins with a shatter machine. We're calling it a shatter machine again on Double J, Jeff Jarrett. But, yes, Jeff Jarrett hit a stroke on Dax, and it was when referee Mark Briscoe was out from a ref bump. Jeff Jarrett hits a stroke on Dax and just celebrates like he just won the AEW World Championship.
Yes, he did.
He didn't even pin him. He hits the stroke and just goes completely nuts. Like that was his AEW World Championship win. or hopefully as close as he gets to it.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yes, FTR retained, and I don't know what's next for FTR. I think it's going to be Juice Robinson and Jay White. I could be wrong.
I like that.
Yeah, much better. Obviously, Jay Lethal hitting the double lethal injection on FTR in this match. That was good. And also, Jay Lethal can do that flip with just 0 feet of clearance. He was like on the ropes, and then he does the flip for the lethal injection. It was crazy. Like, he basically like told these guys like, "Hey, I'm doing it," and like just did it right there. It's great.
Yeah.
So then the infamous, not the unsanctioned match, Adam Cole defeating Chris Jericho in an unsanctioned match, which this match started off with the Jericho Appreciation Society going at it with Roderick Strong, who is awesome, and Sabu, folks, who originally was advertised as being in Adam Cole's corner. Then he was the special enforcer for this match. And then ultimately he was just chucking chairs at fools.
As one does when you're Sabu.
So Sabu jumped off the top rope onto a table. I don't even remember who was down there on the table. I don't think it mattered. I don't think Sabu even knew whether or not there was a person there. I think he just saw the table and was like, all right, it's time for me to go home. So he just climbed up the top rope and just fell like an anchor onto that table.
He was probably at his house before that match ended.
He's probably, well, I know he was doing something before the match, but the match wasn't bad. They used a chain in this one. They hooked each other up to a chain. Adam Cole won by beating Jericho until Aubrey Edwards just basically waved it off. The crowd booed the ending. Britt Baker came out at one point she just tore into Jericho with this kendo stick.
Beat the shit out of him, yeah.
Saraya came out. They brawled to the back, which they actually did again later in the same spot, which was weird. But they brawled to the back. So this all set up a mixed tag match on Dynamite, which was the main event of Dynamite this week after Double or Nothing. And that mixed tag match was much better than this match for sure.
Yes.
I don't know if this tag match was already booked. It could have already been written in pen, but I just think that once they got to the end of that match and the crowd booed it, they were like, we got to have Adam Cole get that 1, 2, 3, brother, on Jericho.
Pinfall, dude.
And he did. So spoiler on Dynamite, which was good. And we also, in that mixed tag match, we had Britt Baker putting the lockjaw on Chris Jericho. So, and then opening up the pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, we had Orange Cassidy retaining the AEW International Championship in the Blackjack Battle Royal. It came down to Cassidy and Swerve. They had a nice little mini match at the end. And after much suspense and tension, Orange Cassidy retains by simply kicking Swerve's arm as Swerve was clinging to the rope, and out he goes, and still your international champion. The greatest champion in AEW history, Orange Cassidy.
Quite possibly.
So there was a lot of fun spots in this match. Basically, everybody was in this match, and that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning of this recap was this was a great battle royal. It got the people going. It was just almost one of those matches where it was a good first match, and then the second match didn't really click, but all these guys that were in this match, you could have done, like that second match, that could have been like a hot Lucha Brothers versus, like literally, you could have done the Lucha Brothers versus the Butcher and the Blade, and they could have heated up, like kept that heat with the crowd, Yeah. You could have done like any Lucha Brothers match, basically. Now they're in a trio with Bandito, which before they were in a trio with Vikingo. And I know he wasn't around for this one. He was like doing flips inside of a mall. I saw on Twitter. He was doing flips next to like a Subway or something. But yeah, no Vikingo on this one. But there's a lot of people in this match basically that you could have just had an awesome match with. Like just because there was no match on this one aside from the top two. And I guess they really did just book the show kind of really top heavy. And plus, the other thing about the Jericho and Adam Cole non-sanctioned match is you've got Anarchy in the Arena coming up later. You can't steal all their spots. So even though it's an unsanctioned match, and you've got a ladder match with Wardlow, and he's going to do a bunch of stuff with ladders, going through 2 tables, right? And there's blood in like every match. You can't take poor Rick Knox's spot from him and bleed, you know, even though Jericho obviously did bleed a little bit there in the end. But they were almost like a little bit hands tied, maybe is my perception, where, like I said, you really can't take all the good spots from the big match later. So you're kind of stuck with what we got, which wasn't the best match ever, right? So, but yes, the Battle Royal was really one of the better like Battle Royals I've ever seen. There was so much just fun stuff going on. You had Commander, who like, I guess you're not in the match until you actually get in the ring over the top rope. So Commander is able to like come across the ropes, then run and do his crazy flying dive without being in the match, and thus eliminating himself, a la Mil Mascaris in the 97 Royal Rumble.
That's right.
You know, he was Mil Mascaris. He was not. So, but yes. So overall, I thought it was a good card. Like I said, I could definitely understand people who didn't love it, because it wasn't this just hit after hit after hit of crescendoing action and all that stuff. But no, I thought they definitely pulled it back. They got this thing back on track, brother, at the end.
Yes. They dialed it in.
Dialed it in. They stopped playing hide the ball.
No more yin and yang.
Shout out to the Laps fan. Not just sitting there, dude, sitting in a chair. Yeah. Actually, Wheeler Yuta was sitting in a chair at one point. He was in the ring. He was just sitting in a chair, brother. Yes. So that was Double or Nothing. Now we move on as we get ready for Forbidden Door. We get ready for another big one in the summer coming up that I told Kris about before the show. Then we get All In Wembley Stadium.
Ooh.
70,000 people, whatever. Then a week later, we get All Out, most likely in Chicago. I mean, it's going to be in Chicago. It's just, I don't think they've announced if it's just going to be the United Center or wherever in Chicago. The old Now Arena, I believe is what it's called now. But yes, a big summer for AEW and for WWE. I mean, both AEW and WWE are going to London this summer, right? Money in the Bank is going to London. And then we have SummerSlam, which is SummerSlam in Detroit this year.
I think so.
I believe.
Let's see.
So all around, a very large summer for pro wrestling has begun. I don't think we can really even fathom. My light went out. That's why it got dark over here. I don't think we can even really fathom how big of a period of time we're in for wrestling, because you can say like, oh, you can be like certain people and just only say that because the ratings on television aren't what they were in 1999, that the wrestling business is sick or dying. But there's a lot of fun stuff going on. There's obviously the return of CM Punk, these bigger than ever wrestling shows, guys, that are happening more and more frequently for both AEW and WWE. And yeah, I think we're going to look back at this time and not know what to do with the future of wrestling when it goes back down to just John Cena and Randy Orton every week.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Isn't it like times a flat circle where like eventually in wrestling it will get boring and the only matches will be between John Cena and Randy Orton? Isn't it just a matter of time? Like, will that ever end?
God.
Like,
if John Cena keeps getting more balder and balder, maybe.
Well, it's like Hogan and Macho Man, right? They got older, but they were still there for so long until they were basically way too old. No, I don't think. I'm not sure we'll see Randy Orton back, because old Bob Orton said in an interview that they told they told Randy not to wrestle anymore. So Randy Orton's future is not a guarantee that we'll ever see him in a match again, unfortunately. But we'll probably see John Cena in a match again. He recently said that what you got at WrestleMania is all I can give, which is like, whoa, man, really? Because that was a pretty basic match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I just don't even believe that though. When he says that, I think that you could definitely do more. You just didn't want to, right?
Maybe he can do it, but he doesn't want to because of his acting, you know?
He just probably doesn't want to look. He doesn't want to look probably like less than his best version. So you have to just do the basic stuff because you can still do, you know, the basic stuff good. He also probably doesn't want to tear any of those muscles before, you know, the next season of Peacemaker or whatever, or that other show. What's it called? The other show they're doing that he's allegedly going to be on. I
don't know. He's going to be on a show?
Yeah, the other Waller, the show Waller, I believe.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
About Grayson Waller.
Your favorite wrestler.
Yeah, and I think people are coming around to my my perspective on Grayson Waller, but we'll see how that one plays out, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so before we get out of here, we have got to touch on this Night of Champions card, which we're not the biggest fans of these Saudi Arabia shows, so we're not going to go into all that, but just the saga of the Bloodline has reached another level, and I have said on this show in the past that Roman Reigns is either getting boring or how many more weeks of this can we have, right? And I was basically wrong, because here we are, years into this story, it is still finding ways to be the best thing in wrestling. And this week, really for the more than a week, the best thing in wrestling has been Jimmy Uso, folks. Yes. Come on. We all thought Jey Uso was the better Uso brother, right? Main event Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso disappears. Jey Uso comes into the spotlight, takes on Roman, establishes himself as a singles wrestler, kind of leaves his brother in the dust, leaves his brother as sort of a background character. But now who is pushing the story of the Bloodline more than anybody? Jimmy Uso, folks.
That's right.
So, yeah, I really loved the whole Bloodline angle at Night of Champions, right? I loved it for everyone involved because once they announced Roman was challenging for the tag titles, you obviously start to think he's going to win them.
Exactly.
He's the world... Well, he wasn't the world champion. He's the WWE Universal Champion. How can he lose a match, right? Especially when it's a given he's not about to lose his championships, right? Yeah. So it's not like he's on the downswing. So how do you have him challenge for another title and then not win? Well, this is how you do it. For one, Sami Zayn did a fantastic job. I said this before WrestleMania, and I think it's still the case. Is Sami Zayn still the top babyface in WWE? I think he is.
He is. Yeah.
Because they try to snuff him out, right? Like in the past, there have been these moments where there's the people the fans like. Then there's the person that WWE chooses. And usually the more obvious it is that WWE is choosing this guy, then the fans gravitate toward the other guy. We've seen it so many times, especially in the last 10, 15 years. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, people like Batista. Obviously, Roman Reigns had a rough period where people were rejecting him. The fans always reject the hand-picked choice, and then all of a sudden, someone gets elevated that, like, this is the guy for the fans. Even like RVD, right?
Yep.
In 05, or I'm sorry, 06. I mean, even in 05 and 06, but and Dolph Ziggler was another one. Fans' choice. And with Sammy, he's that guy now and has been for a while. Cody's great. Cody's probably the top paid babyface. I don't know, but no one is doing the work that Sammy is. No one is.
Yeah.
Because he turned himself from a extremely talented, but kind of a comedy background character to the most believable top good guy in WWE, in my opinion. Because they tried to snuff him out. They had that whole Elimination Chamber thing, which was a great show, great moment for Sammy. He lost in front of his family. WrestleMania, got that redemption, won the tag team titles, but he didn't get to face Roman, right? So now the story is with Sami, and he really carried the story into the match, I think, is Roman wants these titles now, but he can't have them, Yeah. It's like even the character of Sami Zayn is saying, I've been denied all of these moments. You're not going to take these titles away from us, right? And Kevin Owens is just there to be like, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to beat your ass too.
Cool.
So Sami says, you want these titles, you cannot have them. Thought that was great. So Roman and Solo come into Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Long flight, if you're not on the card. Long flight if you're Karrion Kross and you're just sitting there in the crowd. But and this is the cool thing about these other shows when they go far away into the far away places, corners of the world. There's always that surprise person, and immediately you're thinking like, well, they got on a plane and came here, So like you assume in story the Usos are not here, right, for this match. And then no, the Usos come out. They try to get involved. Jimmy Uso has been getting bullied by Roman because he thinks Roman's a clown. He thinks Roman's just there to pop him, right?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, I'm here to pop you. They pop me. That was good. Because, the Usos and the Bloodline, their whole thing is like when they were still finding their groove and they had Sami involved, they're all laughing like it's an SNL skit and they can't keep it in, It's like we're hitting gold, but even we think it's funny, So then Roman just cuts right through that and he like pie faces Jimmy Uso. Like, no, like we're not doing laughing shit anymore, So I thought that was great. Jay Uso says on SmackDown, he's like, just give us one more chance. We'll bring the belts back. And then Roman tells the wise man, Paul Heyman, to fill him in. So then Paul Heyman lets him know that the tag team titles will be coming to the Bloodline, but it will be Solo and Roman Reigns with them. So here we go. And then Roman in that segment dedicates his tag team title match at Night of Champions to the greatest tag team of all time, Alpha and Sika, the Wild Samoans.
All right.
Then I believe it was Corey Graves or it might have been Michael Cole, whoever, on commentary during the match was talking about how Paul Heyman, before the team of the Head Shrinkers was called the Head Shrinkers, Paul Heyman was managing them back in the day when they were the Samoan SWAT team. Almost said Samoan Submission Machine. Wrong Samoan. It's a different Wild Samoan. But yes, so all kinds of tag team lineage coming into this match. Roman dedicating the match to his father and the Wild Samoans. And then Sami and Kevin dedicated the match to the Usos. So in the match, the Usos come out, basically. They super kicked their own brother, Solo Sikoa. So they screwed up. They double super kicked him. Roman sees this happen. This was great. This was like great everything. And from here on, I thought. Roman sees it and he's just like, what? So then now Roman's, screaming at him, pie facing him. He's getting in Jey Uso's face now. Because Jey Uso's the one who has like a voice and all this, kind of stands up for himself. And Roman's like getting aggressive with Jey Uso. And then he gets super kicked by Jimmy Uso. The crowd in Saudi Arabia. This was a great moment as well with the crowd. Just, oh, yeah. Roman super kick. This was just like Seth Rollins in the Shield, right? Like, oh, what are you doing? Right? And it's like he super kicked the tribal chief. This is after he already accidentally misspoke and said he's the tribal chief, right? It's like, yeah. Oh. So he super kicks him. Then Jey Uso is just looking at him, and they said something about like, what'd you do? Like, what'd you do? And then he super kicks Roman again.
I loved it. And it's like they're looking at each other, and Jimmy Uso's like, it's just us now. And to me, it's like, this is what you do when you just to go back to the disposing of a body metaphor. It's like you just killed someone and now your friend is stuck with you. It's like, it's just us now.
Like you're on the hook for what I just did.
Yeah.
You know?
Very, yep.
So they're like, we got to get out of here. So then, you know, they leave, allowing the baby faces, KO and Sammy, to be basically Solo, right? Roman Reigns ain't taking a pin. Even Solo going into this match, I was like, how are you going to pin Solo Sikoa here? He's supposed to be like this uber tough guy. But nope, Sammy and Kevin retain the titles, defeating Roman Reigns, but everybody managed to get out of it looking great, except Solo.
He'll be all right.
No, but yes, and then the show goes off the air with Sammy and Kevin just hanging the belts over the rope, just looking out at Roman, saying, you wanted these belts and you can't have them. I thought it was great. It was just another epic moment in the saga of the Bloodline. And I don't think it's quite the end of the Bloodline. I mean, they could come back together at some point. They could say, oh, you know, things happen, whatever. I've hit you harder at a barbecue.
It's definitely it definitely makes the 1,000 day celebration on SmackDown super interesting, though.
Yep, Roman Reigns, champion for 1,000 days, Universal Champion for 1,000 days. He has not held that WWE title for quite as long, coming up on CM Punk's like almost year and a half or whatever. But yes, 1,000 days as champion. He's coming up pretty soon. He's going to be a bigger champion than, not Bruno. He's never going to beat Bruno, but what was it, like Pedro Morales, Bob Backlund, those guys? I think he already passed Bob Backlund. But we got Roman for the long haul. I don't see his titles going anywhere off of him. But the Bloodline, this might be the beginning of the end for the Bloodline, which means we will be talking about this for the next 365 days.
That's right.
The beginning of the end, meaning this is the final 3-year span of this. No. But yeah, I do think that it was a pivotal moment. Great for Jimmy Uso. I'm telling you, throughout this whole Bloodline saga, each of these guys has not just gotten a moment in this. They've gotten like chapters of this whole story. And it's like, it's so good. I honestly cannot think of a story WWE has done better ever that has gone on for this long and still been interesting, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there has been one. For this long, definitely not.
You know, like Austin McMahon, Brett and Shawn, Brett and Owen.
Those are all great. Those weren't that long. I mean, I guess Vincent and Austin was. Evolution,
breaking up, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's good.
But it wasn't as good as this. Is all these things. And obviously Austin and McMahon is its own thing. So is Brett and Shawn. But they didn't go on for this long. Maybe the Austin and McMahon thing kind of did. But this is like every week, this is the main story in wrestling. And it's actually good.
Yeah, they seem to know exactly when to pull. Like, they know exactly when Jimmy Uso is going to super kick Roman Reigns, you know? They know exactly when to hit these notes. It's the perfect time always. And everyone in it is so great.
Yeah, it's incredible. And yeah, so I mean, credit to everybody involved. This is the best thing in WWE in quite a while. This is definitely the reason why, like, it's getting the most buzz in WWE, you know? Like, Grayson Waller, you know, Rick Boogs. This stuff is not The Miz, Baron Corbin going down to NXT. Like, this stuff is not why people are buzzing about WWE. It is the Bloodline. And obviously, Sammy and Kevin, who are carrying just as much of the weight as the Bloodline. Because, like, really, how much can you get out of two guys, right? Going against the Bloodline, it's like, ultimately, you're going to beat them or they're going to beat you. And they're the dominant group, so generally, they're going to beat you. But here they are, you know? Yep. How many, like, 2 Royal Rumbles in a row Kevin Owens is challenging for Roman Reigns' title? Never boring.
It's all good. Yeah, exactly.
Sami Zayn, they tried to snuff him out. I'm telling you, he's still the top babyface. Which we will get to the world title win in a moment, but we do have to talk about this, the alleged top babyface in WWE, Cody Rhodes. So I will officially admit it. This Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes story is stupid, right?
I love that you think it's stupid. I agree, but I love it.
I don't mind Cody losing, but this is the thing is, They tried to pull the wool over our eyes again, and I didn't let them. When Triple H said, "Oh, the story keeps going. How could you finish the story if the story never ends?" No, like I said on this show, you did finish the story. You just gave it the wrong ending. The ending was at WrestleMania. That was the end of the story for Cody. You know, it's not that, oh, the story keeps going. He's going to come back and he's going to win the belt. Maybe he will. Maybe at WrestleMania next year he will. Guess what that means? You only did it a year too late. That's all that means. Because what did you do with Cody after WrestleMania? He came out, Brock Lesnar attacked him. Still no solid reason why, other than just that Brock attacks people, right? No reason why Brock really has beef with Cody.
Yep.
Then they have a match. Cody inexplicably beats the shit out of the former UFC heavyweight champion Brock Lesnar. You know, Cody wins. Okay. Now Brock has to get that win back. I get that. I'm fine with Cody losing to Brock. It makes more sense than anything they've done already.
Yeah.
But this fake injury stuff, it's just, this is like the Von Erichs, right? It's like when the Von Erichs tell you that one of them is in the hospital, but they're really not. You know? Like the people would flood the hospitals when the Von Erichs were like sick and dying in the hospital. And then they tried to do that for fake. They tried to tell you, oh no, this Von, I don't remember which one it was. It was when they faked it and people were calling the hospital. Do you remember?
Oh man.
You know I'm talking about when like they would call the hospital when, was it, I don't want to say the wrong Von Erich. Was it Mike Von Erich?
I think it was Mike, yeah.
That was in the hospital? Yeah, because he was the one that got out of the hospital. So this is that. Cody was injured for real and then wrestled in that Hell in a Cell match with that real injury. It was a big story. It was a great match. It added to Cody's character of being this like, I'll do anything, you know, guy. And then now they tried to play that up with a fake injury and say, of all the injuries, it's a broken arm. Like, you can't just be walking around with your arm broken. It would be obvious. It would just be hanging there and you would see it. You can't. So your arm is broken because Brock attacked Cody and then basically threw like beer kegs at him and SmackDown and like broke his arm. But then after that, Brock attacks him again and did like the Pentagon snap, but it was with the Kimura snap.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now Cody's arm is broken, allegedly. They put it in a little blow up cast or whatever. Then they're like, the doctors don't let the doctor look at it. But then the doctor does look at it and they say like, well, I guess you're good to go. Which, because that's what they did in real life. This is the thing, is that they're mixing up their stories because they have both shows have these medical people, but we all know what happens. These guys get injured and they still get to go out there depending on who they are. They bend the rules for certain people, certain injuries. That's all we see, right? So they're trying to say they're doing that. But the actual story is that they don't do that. So Cody, in real life, was injured and they let him wrestle. Now they're trying to make that into a story that he's injured and they're letting him wrestle, and it's coming off so stupid.
It does.
Like, what are you here for? To let injured people wrestle? Like, when you do that in real life, you don't say you're doing it. So why are you saying you're doing it now? Like when Cody went out there with the bruised pectoral blood all over his chest, you know, the focal point of the story was not, how could our doctors let this happen? How could our doctors allow this? What kind of irresponsible doctors do we have?
Yeah.
Because that was a real injury. He really shouldn't have been out there. I mean, even though he went out there and he was fine, right? But still. So now they're trying to do this fake injury thing where your arm is broken. And you're just going to go out there and have, what, a boneyard match with your broken arm? So then in the match, Brock goes for the Kimura armbar. This is going on for like 4.5 minutes. It's like a 4-minute armbar. Your arm's already broken. What are you going to break? It's already broken.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, if your arm is already broken and someone's like further injuring it, like the pain would be unimaginable. You wouldn't be sitting still throughout this process. You'd be literally writhing in pain. So for Cody to sit there and then, so what it should have been was, if you're going to do the arm bar, it should have been like a 5-second, like a UFC tap out, right? Where it's like his arm's broken. Oh, it's tap, or whatever. Or maybe you beat the shit out of Cody. He's laying there. Then, you know, to add insult, you could just pin him. Instead, you crank the arm and you go, and then, or he passes out from the pain. But you do it in like 5 or 10 seconds, not 4 minutes. Who could survive an armbar with a broken arm for 4 minutes?
No one. Just Cody. He's God.
And he had to pass out. He didn't even tap.
Ugh.
But I'm saying it was just, it's like either you do the match where you break the guy's arm in the match, or he passes out from the pain, whatever. But they did like all of it where his arm's already broken, but I'm going to break it again. Like, it was beyond stupid. And like I said, the verdict is in. This is stupid.
I'm worried that it's going to make Cody start to get down that like too white meat babyface, like on the corny side. They got to stop doing this kind of stuff. That's going to happen.
Well, they're taking the things that make Cody good and trying to basically manufacture those moments at scale that can't be manufactured. So they're making it look more fake.
Yeah, it's not good.
So not the best. Like I said, the story's already over. It's the story. It's not. We're not going to finish the story. It's over. The story's over. And the new story has not been good. So thanks, WWE.
Thanks, Paul.
So we got to talk about this new world champion before we get out of here. Folks, we have a new world champion in WWE, and his name is Seth freaking Rollins. This was a good match at Night of Champions. I thought that this match was like so technically sound. Even just every single grip these guys had in this match, AJ Styles and Seth Rollins, it was just so like almost a flawless match,
Good to see AJ Styles back like that too.
Yeah, and it made me think like, obviously WWE is not the company that heavily focuses on, 5-star matches, let's say, and all this technical stuff, right? But they've got guys that can do it in Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, because that's what these guys did, was basically just prove to everybody like, we don't need to readjust midway through a move, We don't need to readjust our hands or our grip or spin around the back of the guy, like, because we were in the wrong spot, or like if they're doing a roll up, they're rolling through it to the next move. Like we don't need to do this like scramble to readjust because I'm not in the right position, or my hands are here, they're supposed to be here. It was just perfect execution of everything they did in this match, I thought. And everybody wants to call this title a secondary title and shit on it and all that stuff. But these guys had about as good of a match as you can for a new world championship, and they basically kind of set that bar of, this could be not the workhorse champion, which it might be. They might have to defend the belt every week, but so far it's going to be like that sort of high technical level title. It could be anyway,
I hope so.
That's just what that first match kind of led me to believe, which is, like, I mean, it's workhorse in a way, but just the high level of like technically sound maneuvers.
Well, especially with Seth Rollins as the champ, it's going to at least be some sort of workhorse title because he has the belt. So,
right, exactly, and he's CrossFit Jesus. But
yeah, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, so we'll see who they got next lined up for Seth Rollins. How long this brand split lasts.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wait, is it already? I'm getting word brand split's already dead. No. But yes, I think that about does it for this episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here, as always. Like we said at the beginning of the show, make sure to be kind, like, and subscribe. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. What does this button do?